In this video, I'll show you how to paint a Genestealer Cult Neophyte Hybrid. So we've primed this Genestealer Cult Neophyte with Chaos Black, and I just put a bit of grey Seer over the top because I just thought it would help with some of the lighter areas. You don't have to do it on reflections. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take some Abaddon Black and I'm just going to paint in all the areas that are going to be black. So this is nice and straightforward start. Just going to cover up things like the boots, straps, etc. And basically I'm following the box art here and what's on the Games Workshop website. And what I'm going to do with this model, a little different to what we normally do. Normally I kind of finish sections, but with this we're going to use the same shade for a lot of sections. So I'm going to do all the base colours first. So have a look at the box art, follow up all the areas that are black, and then we'll come back and start the next base colour. Once that black is done, we'll do the first bit of material next. So we're going to do the undersuit, and we're going to use Thunderhawk Blue for this. So take your time not to get this over any of the black you've already done. Again, it's not the end of the world if you do, because you can just go back in with the Abaddon Black. You may even find that when we put a wash on the Thunderhawk later, that may even take out some of the mistakes that you've made. So just remember as well with the Thunderhawk Blue, it's a layer paint, so you may need two coats just to cover properly. Obviously the Abaddon Black would have gone on nice and easily because it's a base paint. So just work your way around, get all that undersuit done in Thunderhawk Blue, and then we'll come back with the next base colour. Next base colour we're going to do is for the I want to call it a skirt. I don't know if it is a skirt, but this part here is Khorne Red. And again, just taking our time and being careful when we come up to those edges of areas we've already painted. So it's got the front there, make sure we get into the holes and all the gaps. And obviously on the back as well, nice and straightforward. Just taking your time not to get it over bits you've already painted. I'll finish the rest of this off cam, and then we'll come back and we'll get cracking on the grey and then the metallics. So for the grey I'm using Dawnstone, and this is for the kind of armour parts on the model. So you've got the shoulder guards, you've got the kind of top suit here. So just make sure you get it into all the gaps. You've got these little plates on the gloves as well, so let's work it on there. And now I'm looking at this model, one thing I'm going to go back and do in the next, I'm going to do the handle, or the grip of the handle of that pickaxe with the Khorne Red as well. So I'm going to go back and fix that off cam. I'm getting excited about getting to the next stage, because this is hopefully going to be a really straightforward paint scheme that you can do fairly quick to get across all your Genestealer Cults. And I'm going to try and do this with as smaller colour palette as I can. So just work your way all the way around the model, get all these kind of upper parts done with the Dawnstone, and then like I said, I can do that Khorne Red as well, and then we'll come back. You may need to do a second layer with the Dawnstone as well, so just take your time and work it round. We'll do the silver metallics first. And there's some bits of gold on the model which we'll come back and do later. So for the silver, just using iron hand steel, painting this all over all those areas that we want to be metal. So we'll start on the pickaxe. We've got the weapon here, or parts of the weapon at least. I've changed my brush to an older brush here as well, just so I don't foul up my newer good brush with some of the metallics. So you working your way around the model, looking for all the bits that you want to be silver. So I'm not going to do them all on cam because I don't want to bore you. I know you want to get to the next step as well. So you can go through these videos at your own pace. You can pause them, come back to them as and when you want to. So any bits you want to be silver, work your way around them, and then we'll come back and I think we're ready to start the first shade. Once we're happy with all the metallics we've done, now we're going to shade the entire model, apart from the black bits. So we're just going to use some Nuln Oil for this. So move it all over the red, all over the metallics we've just painted. And essentially you just want to work your way around, get it into the... Well, we've got that Thunderhawk Blue as well on the undersuit. We want to make sure that we don't slop it on so that it pools everywhere. So as you can see, I'm just kind of brushing it on like I would paint it on. So I'm just taking my time with it. We want to get it into the grey as well. So basically we're giving this an all over wash of Nuln Oil, and we're going to let that dry before we think about the next step. So we might need to give it 10-15 minutes just to make sure it's totally dry. So just work your way around the model, try not to let it pool anywhere, and then we'll come back and we'll start looking at highlighting next. Once everything's dry, you can see the model's a lot darker. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back to our original base colours, and we're going to start the highlight up. So we're going to start with Thunderhawk Blue. We just want to put this in all the areas where the Nuln Oil hasn't settled. So just take your time with this, and again you're going to work your way around, just catching the bits, kind of the high folds in some of the clothing here. Just let that dry. So once you've kind of done that, we're going to do the red next. So again, we're going back to the Khorne Red, and we're doing exactly the same thing with the Khorne Red. So we're looking for the highest areas, the highest raised areas. We're just going to pop the Khorne Red back in there. And you can see straight away it's starting to brighten the model a little. So again, we've got the back here, where we're leaving the Nuln Oil in the deepest recesses. Nice and straightforward, easy kind of highlighting. Then we've got the handle of the pickaxe, so just kind of highlighting the parts of the handle we can actually see, because some of it's going to be hidden, so we don't have to worry about that too much. Just want to do the kind of the front bits there. And then once we've done that, we want to go back to the Dawnstone for the grey, and make sure you may need 2 coats of the Dawnstone, so just going to work it around the shoulder pad areas, being careful obviously not to get it onto any of the Thunderhawk Blue. And then when we come to the kind of top of the bodysuit, it's a bit hard to ram your brush into some of those areas. So what really I'm looking to do is just kind of pull it down along the edges, just to get that part highlighted, and then I might go in off cam and just highlight some more of it, sort of this area in here, just to brighten the model back up a little bit. So finish off that grey, then we'll come back and I think we'll highlight the black next. So for highlighting the black, we're going to use Mechanicus Standard Grey. Now what we want to do with the black is we want to use, so if we look at the pistol for example, we want to use the shape of the model as much as we can. I'm just going to run the brush along that edge there, and you see straight away it gives me a nice even highlight. So that's kind of how we're going to do the weapon. Then you've got other parts, so you've got the leather straps on the boot, so we're just going to work our way down there. Nice point on the brush for this, and we can see that there's some areas along there and kind of the front of the foot, just like that. So that's nice simple highlighting for the boots. Now we've also got the kind of protective bodysuit, which is kind of the dark black bits on here. So what we're going to do with that is exactly the same thing we did on the gun. So we're just going to take the edge of the brush and just move it down over the kind of the hard plastic, like I'm assuming it's plastic areas, but just to give us an edge. And then what we're going to do where we can is we're just going to run the brush over those raised areas and towards the middle of the protective layers. And what this will do, it'll just highlight the kind of the middle part for us, like that. So work your way around the model. All the black bits we want to highlight with Mechanicus Standard Grey, and then we'll come back, we'll highlight the silver, and then we'll get into highlighting more of the red and the blues to really make the model start to pop. So the silver highlight is going to be Chrome from Vallejo Model Air, and essentially what I'm looking to do is just highlight the edges of all the silver parts, and just using the kind of the edge again where I can find it. Same for the pickaxe there. So where you can, just want to run the brush along the edge and it'll give you a nice even highlight, just like that. So work your way around any metallics that you've got on the model that you painted on there and just give them this little chrome highlight where you can. So there, you can see it helps to, this kind of parts are catching the light there, just helps to kind of brighten the model. So I'll finish this off and then we'll do some more highlighting on the clothes. Now that the model is looking a little shinier, let's finish highlighting the red parts. So first up, we'll use some Wazdakka Red, and again we're just aiming for those most raised points of on the cloth. And what you'll start to see now is that this really starts to kind of separate away from the darker colours. It really does help brighten up a little bit. I'll do the handle for the axe off cam because it's just going to be easier to do that. So that's the Wazdakka Red, and then the final little highlight, if you want, again you don't have to, a little bit of Squig Orange. Get a nice tip, and then we're just going to go for a nice sharp line highlight along the kind of the edges and the kind of the sharpest parts that are really going to catch that light. And what this does, it just gives you a kind of nice brightness to the whole composition. So I'm going to do the axe handle off cam, but that's the red complete. For the highlights on the cloth, we're just going to use a little Fenrisian Grey. And again, similar to what we did with the red, we're just looking for those folds which are pointing upwards and are really going to help catch the light. Just work your way around the model looking for these bits. If you go a little bit too wide or you think it doesn't quite look the way you want it to, then you can always go back in with a little bit of Thunderhawk Blue just to tidy it up. So there we are, it's looking pretty good. Just check the model over to make sure you've got all the bits you want. So if we look at highlighting the grey, the colour we're going to use is Administratum Grey, which is quite a light grey. And what we're looking to do is we're looking to catch the shape or the hard edges here. So just using the brush on the side of the brush rather, on the shape of the plastic, gives you that nice bright highlight there. So just work your way around all the kind of lighter grey areas. Just use our Administratum Grey just to make it pop a little bit. You can see there it's really starting to come out a little now. And then we'll get that done and we'll come back and have a little look at maybe a little bit of extra highlight on some of the black. Just to add a little bit more light into the black, just going to use a little Dawnstone just to kind of highlight those sharpest areas. So on top of the Mechanicus Standard Grey, it should give a decent highlight. And again, we're just kind of focusing it towards the centre So you can see there it works quite nicely. Just to add a little bit to some of these darker areas, just to add some light. And you might notice on some of those shoulder pads as well, I've used the Administratum Grey quite extensively on the shoulder pads, because it does actually help brighten the model quite significantly. So we're looking pretty good. We're not too far off finishing. So we'll do the leather next. That's straightforward enough. And then we'll have a look at, there's a little bit of gold on this model, and then we'll get on to the head and then the lighting to finish up. So nice and straightforward. I'm going to just base the leather with some Dryad Bark. So on this model we've got a holster here. Just being careful not to go over bits we've already finished. We've also got a kind of a little pack here. Just going to finish this off cam, and then we'll come back and we'll highlight that up. Highlight for the leather is a little bit of Gorthor Brown, and we're just going to follow the same technique we've used everywhere else, where we got the edge. We just want to drag the brush down the edge just like that. And when we haven't quite got an edge, just going to take our time and pull it across. We've got an edge on the back here, just like that. Nice and straightforward. Okay, so we'll finish the other pack off cam, and then we'll come back and we'll do the gold. So for the gold, and there's only a little bit on this model, just going to use a little bit of Retributor Armour. That's just for this Genestealer Cult icon down here. So just take your time, paint the icon, be careful not to get it on any part you've already finished, and just let that dry. Once that's dry, just going to use a little bit of Liberator Gold just to highlight and add to the shine. I'm not going to bother washing it because I don't think you get too much by doing that. And then just to kind of top off a little bit, just kind of on the top edges, just a little bit of chrome, just to show parts catching the light there. So that's the gold done. We'll have a look at all the lighting next, and then we'll do the skin last. So for the lighting, the first thing I want to do is just get hold of some white scar, and all the parts that are going to be kind of shiny lights, I guess. We just want to pop that white scar over them. Just check there's no other bits on the model that you think would be lit. Just let that dry, and then we'll come back and we'll get those coloured. So the first colour we'll use is Blood Angels Red contrast paint, and all you're doing is you're just painting this over those parts that you want to have a red light. And then the next colour we're going to use is just Iyanden Yellow contrast paint. So pop it in there. You can see that there's too much there, so just clean your brush off and just put it back in and sponge away some of that. You can see there I made a mistake, and I've used too much Blood Angels Red, so that hasn't worked out very well. So I'm going to let that dry, and I'll reset it with the white scar and then the Iyanden Yellow. I'm going to fix that, and I've also kind of done some of the wires using the same colours, some of the red. So let's get the skin done. So we're going to use Rakarth Flesh to base this, and again, just take your time, be careful not to go over any bits you've already finished. And even though it's a base coat, you may need to go over things twice just to make sure you've covered everything. See there, it's not covering perfectly with just one approach, so I'll finish this off cam, get a nice smooth base coat, and then we'll start to Genestealer him up. So to give the model that kind of Genestealer type taint, what I'm doing is I'm just going to use some Magos Purple, and I'm going to use this to shade over the model, just like that. As that dries, hopefully it'll pull towards the kind of inside and the underneath to give it a bit of a purple shadow around the back there. So there we are. If it pools, make sure you wipe it off. But what I'm looking for is just to give it a little bit of definition. So you've got the kind of start of the cranial ridges there. Just want a bit of definition around there and around the back here where you've got those veins starting to pop out. So let that dry, and then we'll come back in and we'll highlight it up, and we're pretty much done. Once that Magos Purple is dry, what we want to do is we want to start highlighting up, or highlighting back up, using Rakarth Flesh, making sure that we leave that Magos Purple in the recesses. And it's worth taking your time over this to catch those cranial ridges there. It's worth taking your time over this because it's kind of going to be the center or the focal point of the model. People will kind of be drawn to the face, and you can see that it's kind of just with basic highlighting, it's starting to come back to life. And you can afford to leave that kind of darker Magos Purple there in the recess, because what that does, it just kind of emphasising the fact that this guy's going through a change to do with his devotion to the Forearm Emperor. So just finish off these the highlighting, and I'll finish this off cam, and we'll come back, and that's looking pretty good. We've just got one more highlight to do. The last highlight, just for those extreme areas, just to brighten the face up. It's a little bit of Pallid Wych Flesh. Now, not too much on my brush for this, and we just want to catch things like the brow here, cheekbones. You see it just lightens that face up, and again creates the focal point of the model. Got the ridges as well. Just like that. Just a little bit there. Just like that. And that face is done. Once that Pallid Wych Flesh dries, it'll blend down nicely. And that's your Genestealer Cult done. Pop them on the turntable and have a look. So there we have it. This Genestealer Cult Neophyte Hybrid is done and ready for the table. I really hope you've enjoyed the video. If you have, please leave a like and a comment down below. It really helps me improve the channel and improve my content for you guys. This is a fairly straightforward scheme, so I hope you can use it to get your Genestealer Cults on the table as fast as possible. Don't forget, my recommended equipment links are in the description, and you can get up to 20% off all your wargaming from Goblin Gaming if you're in the UK or the EU. Thanks again for watching. I'll see you next time.